All right. We are live. Look at that. So we're going to wait for people to show up. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. You like that one, Noah? Well, you know, it's weird now that you're muted. Why don't you guys all unmute yourself? We'll talk till we get a quorum, and then we'll dive into this. So, Noah,
Yes,
you're
sir.
in Minneapolis. How you doing, my man?
St. Paul. Get it right, bro. Minneapolis is where all the exciting people live. If you want to be boring, you live in St. Paul. So that's where I'm at. I'm doing good. How are you, Danny?
You know, yeah, good. I mowed my lawn today, and
Ooh.
it was raining for a good portion of it, but it was all right. So
yeah, timing's everything.
yeah, timing is everything. Chris, how you doing, man? Welcome.
Dude, I'm living the dream. Life is great.
Man, the dream. I want to be
That
living the dream.
I mean, I'm not sure what else I could make my day better than hanging out with y'all at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, eating ridiculously hot food.
Yeah, I was telling them that you have like the biggest day of all tomorrow. Like you have real things to do, and you're staying up till like 10 o'clock to do this. And so we appreciate you hanging in there with us.
I must like you, Danny.
You win already. You've won.
You win
Just
already.
wait till you see my wing.
Yeah. Charity, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to figure out how to get a name like Sledgehammer. I'm just curious about like how can I be so cool?
Well, start out by having your last name be Sledge, and you win from birth.
That's hot. I'm jealous.
You know who gave me my nickname?
Who gave you your nickname? Did I give you your nickname?
You did. Remember?
Oh man, I feel good about that. I didn't know I did.
The email handle.
Yeah,
you know
I love that. Well, tell everyone your nickname. You're not. It's not on your handle.
Guy, where is he? He's that way. I have to point opposite. That I don't know where you see him, but I see him up here. There. He started calling me Noatorious, B-I-G, back in the day.
Nice.
When I was actually bigger than him, but no longer.
And that was your email for a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Nice.
Well, cool. Well, hey, it looks like we've got ourselves a crowd here where we can get started. And so just introducing the idea for any of the uninitiated, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through 5 progressively hot wings, and we're going to be going through even spicier questions. And so if you comment, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, we'll actually be able to see it. And so we can even pop them up on the screen. But if you have a comment, if you have a question you want us to wrestle with, we'd love you to throw that out there. And like and share, we'd love that to happen just so we can get a chance to see pastors that usually look all buttoned up sweat their faces off as we eat some insanely spicy wings. And so look at that. Charity's already sweating. And so Charity, why don't you introduce yourself? We'll go around the horn just so people know who we all are, and then we'll dive in.
All right. So I'm Charity Goodwin. I'm in Columbia, Missouri, where I serve at the Missouri United Methodist Church, and I lead a community there called the City Worship Movement.
Cool. Noah?
Yes, sir. My name is Noah Horman, and I'm the pastor at Last City Church. We're a church plant in St. Paul, Minnesota. I build guitars, do jiu-jitsu, and play with my kids, and sometimes I pastor stuff.
I like that. Sledgehammer, what do you got for us?
Yo, so I'm Chris. I'm the lead pastor of a new urban multi-ethnic church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We're 1 year old. I don't like hot stuff, but I like Danny.
I appreciate that. So, well, cool. Well, with that, what we'll do is all of us, why don't we introduce our sauce? We'll put it on our first wing. We'll take a bite and we'll dive in. And I'll just start. I've got Lola's Fine Hot Sauce. I think it's from Iowa. Carolina Reaper. And so I'm going to put that on. It's my first one because I'm not sure how hot it is. And so I'm banking on it not being hot.
All right. So I'm supposed to introduce mine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I literally have 3 sauces. So this one, I'm just going to put more on it on the second wing. So we'll see how this goes. So this is some Berman's hot sauce. And it was in my mama's refrigerator. So this must be what she does on a regular.
I've got that in my fridge.
Cool.
I'm rolling local with the Double Take Salsa Co. It's called cilantro avocado hot sauce, and it's their lowest, kind of heat hot sauce, but tons of flavor.
That sounds good.
Chris, what do you got?
I'm going to start off with Sweet Baby Ray's honey barbecue sauce as a way to ease into the night. I'm proud.
I love
it. Oh man, living dangerous.
I love that. Well, with that, why don't we all take a bite, and then when we take our bite, I'll dive us into our first question of the night. Cheers, friends. I'm just now realizing how gross it is to watch people eat hot wings on TV.
Basically, which is why I told you, I was like, I don't know about this, Danny.
Well, as you digest your wing, I think this one will be not a super spicy question, but it was a fan favorite. And so it was the Enneagram has kind of become a parlor trick and a pigeonholing device to say what you think your friends are. But I would love to engage in that for just a moment. If you could pick a disciple, maybe your favorite, one of the followers of Jesus, and say what you think their Enneagram type is and why. Why don't we start with you, Charity?
Mm-hmm. So my favorite disciple is Peter. I'm actually preaching about him on Sunday. And I'm going to say Peter has a similar Enneagram as myself, the overachiever that he is. He's a number 3 on the Enneagram. Got some emotional out of whackness, but also, doing big things for Jesus, like Acts chapter 2, preaching for the first time and lots of people coming to follow in the movement. So I'm going to say that Peter is a 3 on the Enneagram.
I love it. Couldn't agree more. Noah, what do you got? You got to choose a different disciple now.
Yeah, I will. So like people know that I'm an 8. But I have this monster 7 wing. Okay. So if I wasn't so controlling, I would always be at the party. Right. And so I went looking for the number 7 disciple, the Enneagram 7 disciple. And it's hard because there's not a lot of like stories about who's the disciple who got drunk the soonest. And so I picked Philip because he's a Hellenizer. Right. So the gig on Philip is that he comes from like an adopted Greek culture. Right. Which is a pretty, hedonistic kind of living compared to like, hardcore Judaism. So I'm going to go with Philip, the party animal, at 7.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the smartest pastor I know right there. Just throwing out things that words I haven't even heard before. All right, Sledgehammer, what do you got for us? You can't choose one of the 2 that's already been said.
Yeah, this is the downfall of being 3rd. With my barbecue sauce over here.
You did choose barbecue sauce.
I did choose barbecue sauce. That's what I get. So I was going to say Peter with like a number 2, like wanting to be helpful too, with a 3 wing. Of course, a 3 wing, but definitely think he just wants to help. He just really was a good guy who just wanted to do good stuff. Just really wanted to help Jesus out. I would say a true helper maybe would be like, I'm gonna pick like a female disciple. To be a little bit more inclusive, to like even like Mary, the mother of Jesus, or like Mary Martha. I just always felt like the 2s. I'm a 2 at heart. I just want to be helpful. I want to do for Jesus, and so I think like those 3 women disciples are true kind of like helpers. Again, not as smart as Noah, but that's my response.
Well, few of us can be. That was good. I appreciate that. So.
Am I going to get railroaded for answering every question? Is that
no, it's good. We're
going to learn a lot tonight.
I think that you're a smart dude. You shouldn't be ashamed of that. I was a dumb dude for a long time, and I'm not ashamed of that. So we'll go on to our we'll go on to our second hot sauce. And so I've got chili habanero. So this is a great one. It's about 11,000 Scoville units. And my spice pyramid starts out quick, but that's the one I'm rolling with.
I'm going with the Burmese again, but it's gonna be like 3 pumps instead of 2.
Double dose it. I like it.
I'm hitting up my favorite, the smoked chipotle Tabasco.
Oh yeah,
I like the smoky flavor, and I think I looked it up somewhere in like the 2,800 range. So it's not crazy.
That's pretty good, though. It's like sriracha range.
Ooh.
Chris, what do we got?
Yep. So I have Chipotle Ranch as option number 2. I'm easing my way into this tonight.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Well, I promise everyone who's watching, I did order everyone some hot sauces. The last 2 wings, the questions will be spicy and the sauce will be even spicier. But here's kind of our last just kind of fun question before we dive in. We know that COVID's been really take a bite of your wing while I ask this, actually. COVID has been just really really hard for a lot of people, and hard to foster community, hard to feel connected. There's just so much going on. I know I did a thing just on kind of trying to find humor and thriving in that. And so I just wonder for you, how do you find kind of community, and how do you help as leaders and pastors in your community? How do you help your people find community here in this season? And so maybe we'll go reverse order with Chipotle barbecue or Chipotle ranch. Chris, we'll go you, and we'll end with Charity.
Perfect. I have to say that the Chipotle Ranch I'm getting a little warmer right now, to be completely frank. This is going to be an interesting night. I would say a couple of things. I have just found more like meaning, honestly, like just like calling people up or texting them in an intentional way in this season, like in my church, but also like in my community, like just people that I know. I never was a guy who like loved to talk on the phone all the time. And I've loved just like talking to people. And like, I feel like I know people now, really for my church, better than I knew before this, because given some time like that. But I would say we just have connected things like that. What's keeping me sane, honestly, in this period is like, there's a river downtown Harrisburg that my wife and I just walk all the time. And so that's just been good just to like get outside and see the beautiful thing. And I think the last thing that like I love that we're doing right now is like, we're doing this thing called Expert Opinion on Sunday nights, kind of like a live conversation just like this, but with like local people, like our mayor, school district people, and just wanting to kind of create community. People in our community have just like chimed in a way that like we haven't seen before, because we're just having some real conversation with real local experts about how they're experiencing COVID. So that's been really fun for us in this season. I don't even know if I answered your question, but there you go.
No, that was great. And before we go to Noah, if anyone has any questions, again, don't forget to comment, because we would love to address them. But Noah, how are you guys creating community kind of during this, both individually and as a leader in your church?
Yeah, well, as a Enneagram 7, I'm just a huge extrovert. And so to be real, this time it's just been really hard on me personally. And I know that I can see that in other people too, because I just get fueled by the getting together with people. And that's the kind of thing that fills my tank. And so not being able to do that's been really hard. I actually see that in my kids. One of my sons is just a total 7 on the Enneagram. He's a party animal. He likes to be around people. He's extroverted. And so as part of our worship, our church worship, we've been intentional about like having like a Zoom call just for kids, just so they can see their friends and go nuts and that kind of thing. Which mostly, it's a little like Sunday school where there's some content, but mostly it's just about kids being able to connect. And I know that's
right.
It's just, it's easy for us to go, oh, woe is me. We're adults and we were having such a hard time. But like looking around, we're all trying to parent our kids through this time and trying to figure out ways to do that well. And then, honestly, we just get together and
right.
we have drinks or play games on Zoom with people, and that's been fun. It's, you can have real conversations. It's not like the real thing, but it's nice to just, sit down and have a glass of wine and play a board game or something with someone that has the same board game or, something like that. Play a little Battleship.
Right.
So that's what we're up to.
Oh, look at that. I turned the comments on. Turns out people are commenting the whole time.
Look at that.
All right. Charity, while I catch up on the comments, why don't you throw this out for us? How have you been connecting in your church and cultivating community? Charity, unmute yourself real quick, though.
Thank you. All right. So personally, I have a couple little boys, 9 and 7, and Yeah, we have family game night is kind of like every other night. So we're playing a lot. Battleship is actually one of the games we just purchased. So so that's been good. And we're starting a garden tomorrow. So we're going to be joining the ranks of urban gardening. Here we go. Like I'm in the middle of St. Louis and I bought some straw bales. Like this is, nice. I don't even know what's about to happen. Church-wise, I'm telling you weird predicament in that I'll be transitioning from my current congregation to a new congregation. So we've been having, well, one thing we're doing is Wednesdays or is our talk back, so people can just kind of jump on a live and like we talk about what happened on Sunday and any ways that they've been impacted. And so just giving people a chance to have some voice. And then the next 2 Saturdays is just going to be some sort of farewell Zoom call. So I'll get a chance to just see people and chat. And then my little one, last weekend, we had a little parade in Columbia for him at his school where he'll be leaving. And so that was really meaningful, his principal and people from church. And so that's been one of the ways we've been trying to put a period at the end of this chapter that we're closing out in a place that's been really great to us. So
cool. Well, that's great. Thank you guys for those. So we're going to dive into sauce number 3. And so what do you guys have? I have a type of Dave's Insanity sauce that I went back to my church to record a sermon and I found, but I forgot what type it is. The label's gone, so I have no idea how hot it is, but I think it's pretty hot. So I'm pretty nervous about that. But Charity, what are you rocking with?
So I think I'm going to just go ahead and jump into the prepared sauce. How about the one you sent us?
All right, you might have to do it.
I have to wait.
Well, I think do it twice.
Yeah, I got the milk right here, so
I love it. All right, so you have the Akamiso.
Insanity.
Great. If I was you, I would do them in the other order.
Do the Ghost Reaper first.
Do this one first. That would be the one. If I was you, I would go with that one first.
Are you sure? This looks hot. Okay.
It's like, yeah.
I'm going for it.
I'm saying for you.
You could go.
Sledgehammer, this is your future, buddy. Watch this.
You could go 3 dabs of the Frank's Red Hot for one more time if you want, Charity, because it's going to get real. So I give you permission and full blessing to do that.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that.
And while you make that decision, Noah, what are you rolling with?
Well, I got my wings from a local joint here called Gabe's on the Park, and I had them put the sauce on the side. And this is their local mango habanero. Comes in the lovely little takeout dish. So we're gonna see what that's like.
Great. And Noah or Sledgehammer, are you out of the Chick-fil-A sauces? What are we going with?
You know, I finally am, right? I have a Tabasco pepper sauce. Smallest little thing ever.
Party, Sledgehammer.
That's right.
Party.
Only one we had in our house. This little bottle.
All right.
Do you even get a tiny bottle like that?
That's my wife.
Charity, what was your decision? What are you going with?
I doused it up with the Burmans.
All right, I love that decision. I actually fully support that. So why don't we take a bite, and then as we talk through it, as we bite, we'll talk through the question. Oh yeah, that's way hotter than I remember it. Ooh, holy cow. That's hotter than I remembered it being. So when you guys, the next question, this is one that actually got a lot of excitement and traction behind, which was this, miracles. Like we read about them in the Bible. There's walking on water, there's water into wine, there's raising dead people from the dead, or dead people back to life. And wondering how this hot sauce is getting me good. So wondering for you, like, describe them. Like, what are miracles? Do they still exist? Like, why don't we see them? We're going to go out of order. We're going to go Noah, Sledgehammer, Charity on this one. Why don't we jump in there?
Okay, I'm going to get all kinds of flack here. But my favorite description of miracles comes from this guy named John Polkinghorne, He's an Anglican minister, but he's also a physicist. He led the Cambridge Department of Physics, and he writes about the confluence of science and religion. And he talks about miracles like, he says, like, you know, in science, there's all these phenomena that we can see and go, oh, look, this happens. We know it happens, but we don't know how to explain it. And we don't have the language or the things we need in order to explain it. But we can show that it happens. And so our limited knowledge is unable to really fully explain what's really going on. Yes, it is a Dick's Drive-In shirt. Thank you very much. It's the Dick's Drive-In Seattle Seahawks 12 shirt. It's a dual institution shirt.
Dustin
Anyway,
Bryson, Seattle native.
So yeah, go Hawks. Anyhow, his idea is that, like, miracles, like those things in science, he makes the argument that, like, we could see superconductivity 50 years before we could explain it, because we didn't have the quantum physics we needed to explain it. But we could go, this is a superconductor. Look, we made it, but we can't explain it. And he kind of says that Jesus doing miracles is just like that. It's like something that's belying an underlying reality in our world. This is really the reality. We don't have what we need to explain it. And Jesus isn't breaking the laws of our world and making something new and different. What he's doing is he's exposing the reality underneath our world, that this is what the kingdom looks like. The kingdom reality in our world is that people are healed. The kingdom reality in our world is that dead people rise. And when you encounter Jesus, you encounter this underlying reality, and it just blows our mind because we can't even begin to explain it. So that's what I think about miracles. Yeah.
The kingdom reality is that I am surviving the sauce right now that was way too hot to go that early. Chris, give it to us one time.
Yeah, so I think miracles still do happen. I just think they look different. And the way that I kind of always think about miracles is like the things that you have no other words or science to explain. So say you had something happen in your life, a healing, a breakthrough, transformation, or something happened in your life, but you have no words for it, right? No science, nothing. Just that miracles are that God kind of still working in people's life. And maybe just kind of real tangible ways. Honestly, I would say I have one clear example in my own life in 2010 where, like, I have no words to describe like what happened. Maybe it was an error, but like I wouldn't say I've experienced any other miracles in my life. But I think in some traditions or someplace around the world that happens, and in a kind of really kind of crazy cool way. So I just think that anything that like we can't explain.
Nice.
But that's good.
Charity.
That's good. Let me clarify.
Charity, what do you got? We got, yes, miracles look different and they exist. So what do you think after following those comments and these guys before you?
I'm going to say that our very existence, life itself, is a miracle. That reality that we miss the, not just in an okie doke sort of way, beauty of every day, but like the things that happen that have nothing to do with any of us. The fact that our hearts in some ways are beating right now. I believe in miracles. I believe in addition to some of the things we've talked about, like the transformations and healings. Absolutely. I come from the Pentecostal tradition originally. And so I think there is something to be said for having an expectant faith. A faith that expects that things can be different. And not sometimes that is from without, if you will, and sometimes that is from within, and God uses us to perform miraculous things that we have yet to see, or to perform a transformation that is much needed.
I love that. Those are great answers, kind of like spreading the spectrum. If for everyone that's not aware, like you guys cover not just geographically different places, but denominationally different churches, upbringings to get you there. And so I think it's cool to hear you guys say that. We got an I agree from Jamie here. So Charity, holler at that. You got a little I agree from the comments. And so as we get ready, though, to dive into this fourth wing here. So we're getting into the hot sauces that we all have. So we're all going with Aka Miso. So this is And shout out to heatness.com. We got these from there, but this is ranked a 8 or a 9 out of 10. And so I would give you to shake that guy up real quick. And this one ranks at 116,000 Scovilles. And so our friend Noah said this earlier on, that his Tabasco was about, let's think about this. He said 2,500 maybe. So in a jalapeno is 8,000. So this is, if I didn't study the Bible in college and studied math, I could tell you what that is. But
I hate this.
This is much hotter. Jamie says you got this, Charity. And so why don't we you should say
Thanks
you
for
got
the love,
this.
James Lee.
You should say you got this, Chris.
So
All the twos are rallying around Chris right now. Love you, bud.
So
Bye.
this one, I will say before we dive into the next question, don't take a bite yet, but this one is less hot than the one I just had.
Oh Lord.
So that's a win. I actually been putting this one on my eggs all week. It's great. That one was stupid. That was a bad decision. So, friends, let's cheers to the camera. Let's take a bite on 3. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Chris, I'm praying for you, brother. How are we hanging on there?
It's good. I like it. Kind of works on you a little bit. It builds up.
Y'all want to see what speaking in tongues look like? Watch Sledgehammer. You about to say some things right now.
If you didn't believe in the gifts of the Spirit,
There's your axe
giving.
right there.
It keeps giving. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
well, as you digest
Oh,
that,
it goes for the milk.
As you digest that heat and digest that wing, friends, my question for you is this. And Noah, I don't know if you started the question yet, so we'll start with you. But there's this interesting desire to break apart creation, dinosaurs, evolution, scripture. They compete against each other. The earth is however billion years old, or it's a couple thousand years old, right? And so you don't need to necessarily say what you think to every single one of those, but when you think of the combination of faith, science, and things like evolution, dinosaurs, creationism, all that fall underneath, what do you say? What do you say to someone that maybe is a person of faith, or someone that's never been a part of it and it's like, I don't know what to think about this when they think about that topic?
Well, I think the fact that we feel like we need to reconcile dinosaurs in the Bible is like the proof positive that someone told us the wrong thing about what the Bible is. You know, like what does the Bible say about dinosaurs? It doesn't say anything. Doesn't say anything, right? And so why is it that all of a sudden we feel like we need to reconcile this book that had the intent of giving a whole people a faith story? And we're talking about Genesis, which is a poem. You know it's a poem because it rhymes if you read it in Hebrew, right? It's this origin story and about a people and their God and how the God kept coming after people over time. And somehow we're asking the Bible to be something it's not, which is like the thing that answers all the questions about everything, including evolution and everything else, which the Bible just doesn't care about dinosaurs. The Bible has unicorns. Did you know that? Unicorns in the Bible, if you're reading that King James, good stuff. We put it on a t-shirt almost at my old youth group. Check it out. Get yourself a King James, look up unicorns in the Bible. Doesn't say anything about dinosaurs though. So, you know what I mean? Like,
I'll be honest with you. I had we haven't talked about this, friends. And that answer, I mean, I'm all about it. I didn't even know. I studied I paid $60,000 and I didn't find one unicorn in the Bible. But I'm going to have to go.
You work that KJV. It only works in King James. Oh, look it up right now.
I love it. All right, Charity, what do you got for us, sister?
So this is I have two answers. So first answer is my Methodist answer that we value and we do theology using faith, tradition, and reason and scripture, tradition, faith, and reason. So with that, there is this approaching of science, I believe, in an inclusive way. I think the world is combative and puts things in competition, and especially like right in the enlightenment, like, oh, how do these things clash? instead of even starting off with the premise of how do these things complement or go together. So I would start there. And then this is also one of the questions where I was kind of like, I don't know what I think or feel about it in some respects. I mean, science in general, I'm all for science, especially these days where we have a global pandemic. I think
right.
will become political. I think that we also have to know what questions we're asking for ourselves, because sometimes we hear lots of people have questions. One of my most, important the conversation in seminary, I believe, was, be sure the questions that I'm asking are my questions. And so do I have a question about dinosaurs? Not necessarily. But I had some other kinds of questions that I delved into. And so I really think for all of us to be clear, what are our questions? So versus taking on other people's questions for ourselves. That's it. That's it.
You got some love for my mom. She said, "Amen, sister." So she's with you. That's my mom. She shows a lot of love. She commented earlier and she said, "Why aren't you answering the questions?" And I said, "Because I am the host, mother. You know this." Chris Sledge, what do you got for us, man?
I appreciate going last. I was dying for the last 10 minutes.
Well, you'll go first on the last one. So.
Thankful for my wife who got me more milk because I went through my glass in the first. So I actually love this question. And I have a super nerdy question, and then I'll answer it with a question. I think part of it for me is if we believe that God has created all things, if we would say that, then why could God not have created science? And even part of like the creation narrative that's science-based, how could God use that? And could God have created that? If God truly created all things, science, medicine. And so I just think that like I always have to ask it with a question. But I actually believe part of my answer would be with this, I would actually, the 7 days of creation, we often think about a literal way, but how do we understand that? I actually think that we're still a part of the 6th day of creation, right? That God is still creating, that like the 7th day is when Jesus comes back, Revelation 21. And that actually we're part of the 6th day. And so if we think about like 6th day of creation, if we're still in it, then dinosaurs, things that happened before humans existed can still exist, because if God is just creating and continuing to create throughout the 6th day, because we are still a part of 6th day before the 7th day. And so that's my super short answer, but for that question.
Yeah. So, Mom, the long and the short of it is Chris's answer just proved to you why I am not answering these questions, because I don't know that I could have said anything that good. That was really great. Thank you for sharing that, Chris, Noah, and Charity. That was great. So we got Angie here saying this is fun. Angie, we appreciate you throwing that out there. We're about to dive into our last hot wing, but what I would love to do is this is just an opportunity for anyone to throw out a question. And so I have one for us, but I would actually love if someone has one better than what we prepared. I would love us to have it. So I'm going to maybe take a couple seconds, let you guys process the heat that just came in, and maybe use it as your own personal soapbox. And so Chris, what do you have going on in life, faith, ministry, like something that you want to plug real quick? What do you got going on?
Yeah, I would say, like I said earlier, expert opinion on Sunday nights. It is literally, I have not had more fun in ministry than right now. And for those who, I mean, Danny, you know, the last year and 18 months have been, this is live. So it has been highly unique, frustrating, joyful. And so I'm having a blast right now. With just interviewing people on Sunday nights, maybe like this, a little less cool than this, because you're cooler than I am, Danny. But that's it, and man, and so it's been fun. Yeah, and Jamie just asked a question, which I'll just answer if that's all right. Jamie asked, when did you become a believer of Christ? Right? I would say that I grew up in the church, but I didn't grow up in a Christian home, and I was a high school freshman. Is when I kind of became a believer of Christ. And I don't think I really even fully understood what that meant, and probably until I was in seminary. That it took me 10 years. I'm probably a little slower than Noah. It took me some time to fully get it. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Cool. Well, and if you guys haven't checked out what Chris is doing, you have either just had Shane Claiborne on, right? So you got a kind of a cool guest on just recently, right?
Shane Claiborne's actually, May 24th. It's coming up. So I've reached out to some pretty big names. I have to say, like, Bob Goff told me no. But I understand he's a little busy. So, but yeah, Shane Claiborne will be on 24th, talking race, racism, justice.
If I learned anything from the Last Dance, you got to shoot your shot. You can't. You don't make the shots you don't take. So,
right.
Charity, instead, I want you to give a plug, but also I got a question for you from my friend Danae. But why don't you what do you got going on, and then I'll throw a question out for you.
Well, like I said, I'm in transition. So I would say a personal plug would be that I just wrote a book. It's called Get Up, and we're preaching and teaching from that right now in my congregation. So it's called Get Up, Unearthing Your Passion and Taking Brave Action in 50 Days. It's an Easter devotional that leads people into Pentecost. And so I think that sometimes we dedicate that sacrificial time during Lent. And if we're not careful, we keep Jesus on the cross. And so this devotion is a way for us to be talking about what does it mean to be living resurrected and living in as people who consider themselves Easter people that we like to sing about, but maybe not always living into the full power therein. So, yeah.
I love that. Easter people. That's a good phrase to live into. And I think you talked about your book. And so the question actually pairs with that. And so from Danae, she just wants to know what are the favorite books you have that helped you grow in your faith? And so kind of you could also riff on what was asked of how long you've been a Christian, but what has helped you grow the most in your faith over the last however many years?
I think one of really just something I think that's important for people to hear. We're in ministry. We've accepted a vocation to serve God with our whole hearts and our whole life. And I would say every year I have a crisis of call. Every year I'm unsure if this is what I'm supposed to be doing or if I believe the things that I thought I believed. And so I think for the lay person to hear that is normal and okay, and it happens from the pulpit to the pew. And so when even the question that I heard it really well, man, that's a little bit still back there. I heard it really well about when did we become believers. I like to think of myself as continuing to believe, like that's definitely a process and a journey, and I'm still maturing in it. And I have new questions that I didn't have before. And so hopefully I get to continue to fall in love with Jesus every year, but not because it's roses and whatever. It's because of struggle and questions and challenge and crises.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Charity. So Noah, you're the last one that gets to give us a buffer before just destroying our stomachs here with this last one. So both just kind of what do you got to plug, and then I got a question for you to throw out.
Yeah. Well, my plug is, if you've heard of Judy Howard Peterson, she's former pastor at North Park University. We've been going through this series at our church, talking about the kingdom, and if the kingdom is going to happen, and the whole Revelation 21 vision of God like descending out of the clouds and establishing heaven. If that's going to happen, like what would that look like, and how would you actually do it? And one of these defining characteristics of that whole thing is like God says, I will be with them and be their God. And I thought to myself, okay, so how do we, you know what I mean? If the defining characteristic of heaven is God is present with us, how do we actually do that and practice that? I know that's a huge thing, but I just thought I need to find somebody who's really, really good at that. And I have never, ever met anyone who is as good at that as Judy Howard Peterson. And so if you guys are just looking for someone to like uplift you and help you deal with your grief in this time, check her out on Instagram at Walking Pastor. She has never had like a social media account, and she literally like got an Instagram account and started Instagramming twice a day just for COVID-19. And every day, twice a day, it's like, I can't, and you
don't touch your eyes, Noah.
Yeah, she's like cutting to your heart.
Too hot.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Hands are clean. So she's preaching at our church this Sunday, but I would just plug Judy, because Judy's just such a boss. If you've seen,
cool.
yeah, that's my plug.
Well, I'll say Noah's too humble to do it. But if you guys have a church, and the cool thing about this is you guys can check out any church you want, no matter where you live. So Last City Church on Facebook or on their website, she's going to be there. And so check it out. It's really cool. I got a chance to preach there and just see the community they have. And it's a cool community. And I think God's doing the cool stuff there. So, and then Noah, the question comes from the woman and the myth and the legend, Barbara Leibarger, wanted to know if you can end our time by playing Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. That's my mom, ladies and gentlemen. She's looking back on youth group time saying, play that song for me right now.
I do have a guitar, and I could if you really wanted me to.
Well, I think that
it's not like I don't
cool.
know it. I know it.
I know you know it. That's actually what I think. So you guys who don't know Noah would know me. Noah was my small group leader in high school, and that is my one. I remember the first time you played it, you're like, "This is a hymn." I was like, I don't even know what that means. And you're like, it's kind of an old song. I was like, that must mean it sucks. And you started playing it, and it was just gut wrenching. I still sing that song every time. Just the lyrics were so good, and I appreciate you as not just a worship leader, but a pastor, getting the chance to kind of do that. And actually, we got a please sing, so we might get a chance to throw that out there.
If I can sing after this sauce, then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, friends, thank you for those questions. And so we'll go to our last one here in a second. But before we do, we have Dave's Ghost Pepper Naga Jolacoa Hot Sauce. And so this one ranks in right at 250,000 Scovilles. And I'll tell you, friends that are uninitiated, it comes out quick, so don't make any dumb decisions. This is a good...
It says to use one drop at a time.
Yeah, you know what else it says, Chris? It says this is great for industrial grease remover. And so...
I didn't even shake it. I got to shake it now.
So what we'll
Kyrie
do...
eleison. People.
I will say what's outstanding is our viewership just skyrocketed at this sauce.
Oh, Jesus.
So what we'll do though is, because Chris got to go last and will almost certainly die of irritable bowel syndrome from taking this, he's going to start out on the first one.
How much are you putting on?
A little bit. We'll go Sledgehammer Charity Noah to wrap this one up. And so let's take a little bite. Don't do it yet. Let's do it together.
Too much?
I got this much going on. So I can't really see it.
No, I'm not.
Is this too much?
No, that'll be good. So, friends, on three, un, deux, trois. That's pretty hot. Instantly.
Waiting for it.
Friends, watch Chris.
That wasn't bad.
Whatever. This is about to get so real.
You're hilarious.
So, friends, as you're digesting, here's our question, Chris. This is a softball. You start us out, brother. We got why does evil exist and why do bad things happen to good people? Start us out. Hot wings, hot questions.
I love this question of theodicy. I think it's a great question. And I always think about N.T. Wright in this moment. I'm currently not dying yet. It's literally getting stronger. Okay.
Charity, start us out on this one. Can you take us there to start us out?
Okay. I believe in N.T. Wright. N.T. Wright would say the question of evil is he would use a mirror image and how we need to recognize that evil does not exist within you, Danny, and not me, but that each of us, we both have evil within us. And so I think for me, it's that we all have the temptation to like screw someone over and to be a jerk, right? We all have that temptation within us. And so I think the problem of evil is not a problem with you being evil and I'm good. I think the problem with evil is like, am I dealing with this stuff in my own life and making sure that I am being a good and kind person in the world? And I literally am getting hot just talking right now. And so I think that's for me, like why that happens. Why does bad things happen to good people? I think just things happen to people, all people. And I don't think putting labels is like, I think just things happen. And who gets to determine if someone's good or not? And so things just happen to people. Okay, Charity, good luck. Also, it's not as bad now. It gets better.
The air makes it worse.
It's like right here, and it's not feeling good. All right, Dustin, I'm breathing. Oh man, evil. Balance. That's my first answer. The balance of the world. Good, evil, light, dark. Not that it is all dualistic per se, but yeah, I think it's here, period. And I also, from a process theologian perspective, we make decisions. And so that is where I would go with why it exists is because we make choices. And yeah, I like Chris's answer about not labeling the people good and bad. Yeah, rains on the just, the unjust. This is life, friends. I really think there is a misnomer about what it means to be a person of faith and a believer in Jesus Christ, such that life is supposed to be perfection, and we are supposed to be perfect in an unhealthy way. And I think when we try to live into that, that's probably the times when we create the most evil in the world.
That's great. I like that. I think I would, Noah, before you go, the idea that like the kind of dualistic or even the differentiation between good and bad, right? Like saying like, who is good, right? Mm-hmm. Like scripture says like there's probably one person that's good, right? And mm-hmm. So even to say like, why do bad things happen to good people is kind of just an interesting take on a question that's maybe not even that biblical. But Noah, what do you got for us?
I like both of those answers. Those are really good. I think I spent a lot of my life being a person who needed to have an answer to every question and have the right answer. Getting in arguments, and it was really self-gratifying to like get in an argument and just make somebody look dumb. That was good times for me. But somewhere in my life, I kind of lost the zest for that. I realized that I wasn't having any influence over anybody. I was just being a jerk. Anyway, this is one of those things that I feel like, people have wrestled with this question for so long. So many people have wrestled with it well. N.T. Wright and C.S. Lewis and, heroes of the Christian faith have been dealing with, the idea of evil in the world for forever. And still we don't have like, what any of us would look at it and see as like a satisfactory answer, And I think it's really important. Like, this is where I kind of step off the bus and go farther along. Maybe we'll know all about it, and it's okay to go, I don't know. And it's okay to let God know and us not know. And part of the crux of being a human is this want and need and this desire to have everything figured out. And even the sin of thinking that we can figure everything out from the Bible, that's a sin, that somehow the Bible is going to answer all of our questions completely. And we're not really arrived, or haven't figured our theology and our Christianity out until we have this answer done and set. That's a sin. And we got to let God be God and deal with that. And so, in the midst of evil, I choose to both lament with people who are lamenting and the oppressed. And I also choose to have an ear towards hope and vision towards hope, and do both of those things. You can do both. It's possible to do both. And I think your practice and the way you kind of pattern your life will teach you to do that well or poorly. And so I've been building my life around trying to figure out how to step into pain and hold on to hope and do those things simultaneously. And and not know the answer and go, it's okay. Because, you know, you never met anybody who was suffering where you showed up and go, well, let me tell you about the Odyssey. This is why bad things happen to good people while you're in the ICU. No, you don't do that. You just show up. You show up and you don't say anything, right? You show up, you pray, you sing, you shut your mouth. You know, that's what you do. And so in the end, the answer to the question doesn't help when you're in the middle of it. It's not functional. So I just let God be God and get on with business.
That's good. I was just saying to my small group the other night, actually, like, I felt like I was probably like a B+ pastor before I went through my divorce. And then I realized, like, once I experienced like any sort of like stuff, I realized like answers weren't what people needed. Like, to be a pastor, to like be a person of the way of Jesus is like far more about walking alongside people and like not giving platitudes and like pat answers, but just saying like, I'm going to be there with you in the silence and like just like weep like Jesus did, right? Like, you don't need to have answers, like just be there and be present. So thank you guys for that. How you three doing? You hanging in there?
I'm feeling it.
Like, well, my mouth is feeling weird things right now that it's never felt before.
Yeah.
Well, check your door because your surprise sauce just arrived. No, I'm just kidding. But I will say we got a couple of minutes left, and so I'm going to do a quick plug for some things. But I'll throw up, if you have like a final question while we're kind of back in our right minds, feel free to throw it into the comments. But we would just want to say thank you. Like, this is kind of a fun opportunity. I remember, I guess 3 weeks ago it was, like, I was just sitting in front of my TV and I was like, what would it be like to gather like some of my favorite people, even if they don't know each other, because you guys had never met before, and just get you guys that are pastors of different churches and different denominations and different sizes together just to talk about things that matter. And I said this in a post earlier, like, I think the church, for whatever reason, like, has stopped being fun. Like, we want it to be fun, but for whatever reason, like, it's lost a little bit of its levity and its fun. Not everywhere. I'm sure your guys' church is. My church is like super fun, I'm sure. But like a church in general, like, is gone astray, right? A little bit. And like, just to say, like, faith can actually be fun. Faith can be engaging, and faith can be something that we're about even over hot wings. And so, Chris, there is one more question for you, though. Just wondering from Jamie, will you ever do hot wings again?
No. I'll like Chipotle Ranch. That was probably the hottest that I'm like comfortable with. But like, literally, no.
Yeah. Well, I am wondering, the Chipotle Ranch, not a thing you would normally do. Did you like that?
I did like it. It was still spicy. Like, at the time, I thought it was spicy. I wouldn't normally do it. It was good though, decent.
Well, I will just throw this out there. So one of the folks in my congregation just threw out, like, they enjoy getting to hear me preach, but would love to hear all of you preach because you guys are just great storytellers and just appreciated hearing you. And so, just as you guys know that, this is what I love about COVID. Like, our congregation, like John Wesley said this, the world's my parish. That's actually real now, right? Like, it's not about where you live and where you are, but you have an opportunity to get to speak into the lives of people halfway around the country. And so I appreciate you guys for engaging with us in that. And so, friends, we might go one more. Oh yeah. Don't even forget the hymn. Noah, how you feeling, man? Oh, well, while Noah goes and gets his thing, I want to just encourage you to join me next week for Hot Thoughts Volume 2. So next Thursday, a week from today, I'll be joined by 3 new pastors. So I've got Nick Cunningham of Emmaus Church in South Carolina. That's a non-denominational church out there. We've got Adam Musto out in Kansas City. He's a Methodist pastor, and so we're so excited to get to have him. Late edition. And these two are not fully confirmed, but I'm going to speak it into existence. We got Ashley Kirk of Church of the Resurrection, and we got Jennifer Moxley of First Sykeston, and they're going to come and they're going to join us. And we're excited to dive into questions. They'll be completely different questions, but we're so excited to do that. And Noah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how I can blow you up and make us all disappear. I'm going to mute us.
Oh,
and
stop.
Noah, you're going to... So take us to... He's going to sing... Let's get this. Come... thou found.
Gotta remember. Hey, by the way, plugs. This guitar's for sale if you want to buy it. Taylor 412K, 1996. Anyways. Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune thy heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. And teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Here's my help. Do you remember the words? Something. I forgot the words because you put me on the spot. So that's the best I got.
Hey, well, thank you for doing that. That was great. You were rocked it. So we're all in different places on the screen now, but friends, this was so much fun. Just a chance to do this with y'all. Why don't we go? Did any of you have any final thoughts before we tune out? Chris, you have anything you want to say?
No, I would just say y'all are rock stars. It was nice meeting you, Noah and Charity. Great to see you, Danny. I would just say keep on keeping on, people. Y'all are amazing people.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, live into the power of the resurrection. We're Easter people. Now's the time. If there is no any other time, now's the time to live as Easter people.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks, Danny, for putting it together. Thanks. It's really good to meet both of you guys. And thanks, everybody, for chiming in and throwing out wacky questions and following along. It's a good time.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for doing this. You guys are some of my greatest friends, and my biggest lament is that I don't get a chance to see y'all every single week. But I know even Charity coming to St. Louis is a big win for me because she'll be so much closer. But my encouragement to everyone watching is just to understand that the church is without walls. The body of Christ is not bound to your geographic area, but we have an opportunity to do something cool, just to come together and understand really the totality of what Jesus did and how that impacts our everyday life. And so I appreciate you guys doing this, and I hope that this is just the beginning of a way to unite our communities. And so thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next week on Thursday for round 2. See you around.